Breaking news: the Pentagon just confirmed a sudden surge of Venezuelan air defense radar activity along the northern coast. These radar systems were not running in routine mode. They were scanning wide, fast, and aimed toward air lanes used by US patrol aircraft in the Caribbean. This raised an alarm inside Washington within minutes. At 3:17 a.m., the quiet night broke for a US Navy P-8A on station offshore. A sharp radar pulse hit the aircraft's sensors, strong enough to force the crew into high alert. No message followed. No explanation. Just an aggressive move from a radar site deep inside Venezuela that pushed the situation into dangerous ground. While the P-8A crew tried to confirm what was happening, something much larger was already moving. In Missouri, a B-2 Spirit sat inside a dark hangar, waiting for the green light. If Venezuela wanted to show strength with their radar surge, the response coming next would hit far harder than they expected. If you want to follow this confrontation step by step, hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The radar surge was not just noise on a screen. It pointed towards something deeper inside Venezuela, something analysts had been watching for months. In the mountains of Yaracuy, far from the public eye, Venezuela had built one of its most protected military sites. Satellite photos showed thick concrete bunkers, new vehicle tracks, and long-range guns being moved into place. The site looked quiet from the outside, but every update showed more equipment arriving and more activity underground. For the US, this location mattered for a simple reason: range. From Yaracuy, those guns could hit wide areas along the northern coast and threaten shipping lanes and patrol aircraft moving through the Caribbean. It was not only a military problem, it was a regional stability problem. If that artillery ever went active, it could change the balance across half the Caribbean in minutes. Inside US command rooms, experts explained why this radar surge was different. Normal radar sweeps look wide and slow. What the P-8A detected was sharp and focused, almost like someone in Venezuela wanted to test how close they could aim without triggering a response. That kind of behavior is not random. It is a signal. Militaries around the world use moves like this to probe an opponent, measure reaction times, and look for weaknesses. But the stakes went beyond strategy. For crews flying the night patrols, a radar spike at 3 inches the morning is personal. You go from staring at a calm horizon to fighting adrenaline in 1 second. Every tone from the alert system feels heavier. Every move becomes calculated. For the analysts watching the Yaracuy site, the concern was different. They had seen signs that Venezuela recently stored new GPS-guided artillery rounds there, weapons far more accurate than anything the country used before. If those shells were ever fired, they could strike specific buildings, runways, or communication centers with minimal warning. So when the radar spike hit the P-8A, the picture became clear. This was not a random test. It was tied to a site that could shift power across the region. And deep under the mountains of Yaracuy, the crews working at that artillery base had no idea that their increased activity, combined with that radar surge, had just triggered a chain of events that would bring a B-2 Spirit straight toward them. The first alert reached the US command center in a calm voice. Yaracuy radar active, pattern not normal. At first it sounded routine, but a second update followed fast. Satellite heat scans showed crews moving near 2 underground bunkers and vehicles shifting into new positions. The screens in the room turned red and conversations stopped. Someone finally said what everyone already felt: they're preparing something. At 3:29 a.m., the call left the building. Inside Whiteman Air Force Base, a dark hangar opened just enough to reveal the shape of a B-2 Spirit. Even in low light, it looked like a moving shadow. Colonel Marcus Phantom Henderson walked straight toward it, holding the brief report in his hand. 2 targets were marked as threats: the main ammo bunker and the operations bunker that controlled the entire artillery site. His copiloto, Major Sarah Chen, joined him as ground crews began fueling the bomber. Inside the bay, technicians ran tests on the 2 massive MOP bombs. Each one was large enough to punch through layers of concrete and rock. When the final indicator turned green, Chen said, "Both weapons ready." Henderson gave a short nod and climbed into the cockpit. At 4:12 a.m., the base cleared the bomber for launch. The B-2 rolled forward, silent and steady, lifting into the dark sky like it was built for that moment. Hours later, over the Atlantic, the crew stayed focused. The refuel tanker approached ahead, and the B-2 held position for 18 careful minutes. Not a single drift, not a single mistake. Far south, inside the Venezuelan artillery complex, officers checked weather reports and planned the morning routine. Nothing looked unusual to them. They had no idea that their earlier radar surge had confirmed the site as a priority target. At 5:47 a.m., the B-2 entered Venezuelan airspace. No alarms were triggered, no radar tracked it. The bomber moved quietly toward the mountains, dropping to 1,200 meters for the strike. Every second mattered now. Chen armed the bombs. The click of the switch felt heavy in the small cockpit. "Weapons hot. 30 seconds," she said. Henderson held the aircraft perfectly level as the final seconds ticked down. The green light flashed. The moment had arrived. The strike that would change the entire region was now in motion. Inside the artillery complex, the morning shift was minutes away. Sergeant Luis Hernandez sat inside his Panzer S1, checking his screens like any other day. The radar sweep looked clean. Birds at low altitude. 2 commercial flights far to the north. Nothing unusual, but normal does not always mean safe, especially when danger comes from above and never shows on a radar screen. High over the mountains, the B-2 Spirit held a perfect line. In a strike like this, even a small movement matters. One wrong angle can send a bomb off target by hundreds of feet. Colonel Henderson kept the wings level while Major Chen watched the countdown. 20 seconds. 15. 10. The bomb bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Cold air rushed into the frame. 2 massive MOP bombs hung ready. Their guidance systems locked onto satellite signals, checking their position again and again with quiet precision. Then the moment arrived. Both bombs dropped clean into the dark air below. For 2 long seconds, they fell straight down. Then their fins moved, locking them into a guided path. Behind them, the B-2's doors closed as Henderson banked left and began climbing. The bomber had to move away fast, but not so fast that the maneuver strained the aircraft. He held a steady rise, watching the terrain fall behind. Below, the 2 bombs gained speed fast. Their guidance checked the target position 50 times each second. The air around them compressed into a sharp whistle as they pushed past 600 miles per hour. No radar in the Venezuelan complex could see them. No alarm could warn anyone. The attack was already seconds away. Sergeant Hernandez stepped out of his vehicle for a moment, hearing what sounded like a faint wind shift. He looked up at the sky, saw nothing, and turned back toward his screens. He never knew 2 bombs were already dropping directly toward the base. Above the mountains, the B-2 continued its climb. The bomber looked calm on the outside, but inside the cockpit, both pilots waited for the moment of impact. Once those bombs hit, the entire region would feel it. And now the countdown was almost over. If you think this escalation was unavoidable, press 1. And if you believe Venezuela pushed too far first, press 9 before we move to the final phase. The first bomb hit the roof of the ammo bunker at extreme speed, but it did not explode on contact. It drilled straight through the concrete, broke into the main chamber, then punched through the floor like it was thin steel. Only after sinking deep into the rock below did the fuse activate. What followed was not a single blast. It was a chain reaction no one in the complex could survive. Inside the bunker were hundreds of artillery shells and rows of heavy rockets stacked for the next training cycle. When the bomb detonated, the shockwave crushed everything in its path. In less than a second, the stored ammunition reacted. Shells cooked off at once. Propellant charges flashed into fire. The pressure forced upward and outward, ripping through the structure and sending a column of flame high into the morning sky. Exactly 1.7 seconds later, the second bomb reached its target. It hit the operations bunker on the far side of the complex, cutting through layers of hardened concrete before the fuse armed. The explosion happened underground, turning the command center into dust. The officers inside never saw it coming. There was no radio call, no alarm. One moment they stood over their reports, and the next, the bunker collapsed into itself, leaving nothing but a crater. The two blasts struck so close together that regional sensors misread the shock as a small earthquake. It was only later that analysts realized the truth. What looked like natural seismic activity was actually the moment Venezuela's most protected artillery site disappeared from the map. No one on the ground understood what had happened. There were no jets in the sky, no incoming missiles, no warning of any kind. The attack arrived with no sound until the explosions tore across the valley. The twist was simple and brutal. The base they believed was safe from air attack had never been safe at all. Stealth had done its job long before the first bomb hit. Flames spread fast across the entire artillery complex. What began as two underground blasts turned into a sweeping chain of destruction. Fuel tanks burst one after another. Smaller ammo piles detonated across the valley. Thick smoke rolled upward while burning debris dropped over the concrete pads where crews normally gathered at sunrise. Vehicles near the ammo bunker were thrown across the site. Radar towers bent and collapsed. 11 of the 12 Mesta-S guns were smashed or burned beyond use. The Smerch launchers were torn apart and scattered across the far side of the base. Both Pantsir S-1 units were destroyed before anyone could even start their systems. In less than a minute, the complex looked like it had been hit by something far bigger than two bombs. Inside the B-2 cockpit, Henderson and Chen watched the strike through the MQ-9 Reaper feed. The center of the screen glowed white-hot where the ammo bunker had been a few minutes earlier. Chen leaned forward and said, "Both targets destroyed, secondary blasts still going." Her voice stayed steady, but even she paused at the scale of the damage. This was not just a hit. It was a complete shutdown of a major threat. Henderson kept the bomber climbing, pushing towards safer altitude. For a long moment, neither pilot spoke. Then the radio broke the silence. "Phantom, mission success. Begin return flight." Henderson answered, "Copy, RTB." Only then did he release a slow breath. The strike was over, but the weight of what they had just done filled the cockpit. On the ground, rescue teams tried to reach the site, but the heat was too strong. Shells thrown out by the blast kept exploding across the hillside. Smoke rose straight into the sky, visible far beyond the mountains. By the time the flames calmed, the full picture was clear. The complex no longer functioned as any kind of military site. Communications were gone, bunkers collapsed, leadership wiped out in seconds, and no one there ever saw the bomber. The B-2 entered, struck, and left without a single radar detecting it. The message to anyone watching was simple. If you can't see the threat coming, you can't stop it. If you think this strike changed the balance in the region, press 1. And if you think Venezuela never expected this level of force, press 9 before we move on. When the sun finally reached the mountains, the damage was impossible to miss. A dark column of smoke rose straight into the sky. Small blasts still echoed across the valley as scattered shells cooked off in the heat. Rescue teams tried to reach the center of the strike, but the ground was so hot and unstable that they had to wait. The artillery complex no longer looked like a military base. It was a broken field of burned vehicles, shattered concrete, and collapsed bunkers. Reports confirmed the scale. Almost every long-range gun was gone. The Smerch launchers were destroyed. Both Pantsir S-1 systems were torn apart. The operations bunker, the ammo bunker, and the command staff inside them had vanished in seconds. Analysts estimated that about 40% of Venezuela's long-range artillery capability had disappeared before anyone on the ground understood what was happening. Inside US command centers, footage from the MQ-9 played on loop. What shocked everyone was not the fireball, but the silence before it. No radar tracked the B-2. No missile launched. The base never reacted because it never saw the attack coming. For many watching, this was a reminder that stealth is not just a feature, it is a warning. The impact stretched beyond Venezuela. Countries with similar hardened sites began questioning how much protection concrete really offers. If a bunker built to survive heavy strikes could fall this fast, what did that mean for the next conflict? Military planners everywhere took note. The first minutes of a modern fight may be decided long before defenders can respond. Even the event that started it, a radar surge that seemed minor at the time, took on new meaning. What looked like a routine test ended up triggering a strike that reshaped the region's balance. One signal, one moment, and everything changed. But one truth stood above the rest. Once a B-2 begins a mission with a clear target, the outcome is almost certain. The defenders never saw it, never tracked it, and never had a chance to fight back. If you think this operation changed the strategic map, press 1. And if you believe this was only the beginning, press 9 to join the discussion.